Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of 10 Minute Tuesday. If you have not already, please like, share, and subscribe. In today's episode, I got my good friend, Stephanie Bruno, in the building. Stephanie, what's going on?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
I'm
What's
good.
happening there?
Yeah, good. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate you being on. So we've done a number of these. Stephanie, go ahead and introduce yourself to the people.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, first, thanks for having me on. I'm excited to be here. My name is Stephanie Bruno. I am here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Um, you can see on here, I'm a data platform MVP and also a data witch. Data witch because that is the name of my company, Data Witches.
Love it. So Microsoft MVP, you got your own company, you're out here doing it big. I mean, you got a whole bunch of stuff out there, but you had to get your start at some point. So what really compelled you to get into data to even begin with?
Yeah, I'm going to date myself here, but it was SQL Server reported services when I stumbled upon that, because before that, I was living in a world where people just asked me to write SQL queries and export it to Excel and then give it to them. And so then I don't know, I stumbled onto reporting services, and that was magical for me at the time. But then, Power BI came out, and with that, giving people the ability to kind of have self-service, reporting services kind of is in the rearview mirror for me now. But yeah, it was really Power BI. And honestly, it's because I was in nonprofit for a long time. And when Power BI came out, it was free for a long time. I don't know if you remember, but we didn't have to pay for licenses for a long time. So when I
Wow.
had to decide between Click and Power BI, I was like,
I mean, of course, easy. Yeah. Power BI, of course.
yeah, that was great. So that's really how I got into Power BI. And then just more and more, then getting involved in community took it really next level.
Wow. So SSRS, well, really SQL, right? I think all of us start with SQL, write these reports. This account manager is bothering me. Like, here's this thing, how can I automate some of this stuff and give you your insights? That's awesome, man. So that's an incredible journey. That's really cool. So thinking about this, I love this is one of my favorite questions because it talks to the person about them outside of the data, right? We know people who are in the data, but we've all had some type of job that we might not have had that's outside of data. So thinking about that, what's been your least favorite job to date? And it could be like in high school, I sold popcorn, or I worked at a movie theater or something like that. So, what's been your least favorite job that you've had?
I worked in a factory on the line for a summer, and it was horrible. It was so hot. There was no air conditioning. That's all I remember. It was just so hot. And it was just, 8 hours of scooping these pharmaceutical boxes off of the assembly line and then putting them in a shipping box. So you can see it on my hands. This is what I did for like 8 hours at a time. And it was terrible. And I think I did that job maybe the summer before I went to college. And it really made me feel like, okay, I'm really glad I'm going to college, because I don't want to do this, 8 hours of this over and over anymore. But the best thing that happened was one day I was wearing a sweatshirt tied around my waist, which was a bad idea because it got caught in the machine and it broke the machine for a couple hours. So all of us workers were thrilled because we just got to stand there for a couple hours. The management was not thrilled, but that was glorious. It was not intentional. It was just a happy accident.
Nice.
Yeah. So working on the line was my worst job.
Yeah. Those line jobs are brutal. It's like nonstop. You're on your feet. You're this. And you probably have like 20 minutes, 30 minutes to eat a sandwich or something if you're lucky.
Right. Clock in, clock out with that little machine that would go ka-chunk on the timesheet. Yeah.
I worked at UPS, similar. So, but I was like on a truck. I was like a driver helper or something. So I was the one responsible for going to take the boxes to the door and then run back really fast and then run it and all that. So yeah, similar philosophy of like, I'm so glad I'm going to college and not doing this full time.
Yep.
Right.
I don't want to do that again.
Yeah, no. Okay. All right. So philosophy you live by, you don't really fail, right? Everything you do in life is, you're learning from that experience. So we like the philosophy of failing forward. So with that in context, what would you consider your biggest failure in your career, quotation marks around failure, and what you really learn from that experience?
I think it was that I stayed too long at places. I was too afraid to take a risk, too afraid to take a jump. Also just fear of failure. I think that was my biggest failure, was that I wouldn't take chances. I wouldn't try things because I was afraid of somebody thinking I was stupid, or, just embarrassing myself. And so I think I played it safe a little bit too long. Um, and I think that was a big mistake, because eventually I finally did kind of put myself out there. And definitely I've stumbled, I've fallen on my face a couple of times and have been embarrassed, but I think the reward outweighs the stumbling, because you take those risks, and then a lot of great things do end up happening. It's not all going to go great, right? But I do think, I think I just played it safe too long. And then when I finally started taking risks, it just was like, wow, why didn't I do this before?
Love that. Love that. And so I guess not to dive into detail, you have to go in detail, but do you vividly remember that moment where you were just like fed up? You're like, you know what? I'm going to go for it and take this risk or do these things that I haven't been doing before. Like, do you still remember that feeling that you had?
Yeah, and it's really, really scary. I get the sweats and the nervous sweats. And it really started with speaking in the community at events. I was terrified to do it. But I really wanted to go to some of these events. And that was the only way I could. It was as a speaker, because then you get free registration, right? So, yeah, I would make myself do it. But it was just like, I couldn't sleep the night before. I was so afraid somebody would point and say, "That's wrong. You're stupid." And that's happened 0 times. Nobody's ever done that. So yeah, that was very, very, very scary. But just taking those little chances like that, they start to add up and give you more, I think, confidence that you can take bigger risks.
Love that. I love that. And it's crazy, like the stuff we imagine in our head before we get on stage to talk or have a meeting or whatever. Like these inner voices are so insane that they make it far worse than what the actual experience typically is.
Oh my gosh, yes, that's absolutely true. Our friend Shannon Lindsay, she calls it my rude brain. And she's always telling me to she's like, you got to turn that rude brain off. She is not invited to this conversation.
I love it. Love it. All right. The target audience for this is people who are either starting their career in data, or they're trying to pivot and get into data, or they just stumble upon this some type of algorithm and they're like, oh, what is this 10-minute Tuesday talk? And so with that in mind, what is one piece of advice you give someone who's just starting out in their career?
Get involved in the community for sure. Whether it's virtual, or if you're lucky enough to have a user group where you live, go meet people. I thought that I liked just being on my own and quiet in a corner. And that really limited me, until I started joining the community and meeting people like you. I think I was much more limited. So my biggest piece of advice is get out there, go to user groups virtually or in person. If you can go to, SQL Saturdays are free. Go to those and introduce yourself to somebody. If you see somebody that you recognize from 10-minute Tuesday or whatever, they want to meet you. So go introduce yourself and say, "Hey, I saw you on here and I'd really like to talk about XYZ," because by and large, most of the community really wants to help each other.
I think that's very true. I think that's a piece where I know starting out, like I saw these people like you, Patrick, Alex, some of the people who are just like prominent and stuff and MVPs and everything. And there was a piece where it's just like, I can't go speak to them because I don't know them, but everybody's really welcoming if you come up and talk to them, and everybody's really accessible.
Absolutely. And they're happy to talk. This is why they get involved in the community, because, they talked to somebody and then felt that inclusion and welcoming experience. And then, you want to pay it back.
Oh, love it. Love it. All right, Stephanie, tell me about the most influential people in your life and how they made an impact on you.
Okay, so there's, professional and non-professional, right? So definitely people professionally. I mentioned Shannon, right? So Shannon Lindsay, she's kind of my partner witch in crime. We met at the nonprofit, and, she just has a really great positive attitude, and she's also a good risk taker. So she kind of helped kick me out of my comfort zone a bit. So I think finding a data friend like that has been really helpful for me. And then I think also, non-professionally, my husband is just about my favorite person in the world. He's really, really nice. He's just really nice and positive. And one thing that I always loved about him is that he's never said an unkind thing to me. We've been married 20 years, and he's never said an unkind thing to me. It's like not even in a joke. He's like, funny and mean aren't the same thing.
Yeah.
So I love that too.
Man, shout out to Shannon. Shout out to the hubby, being the backbone, being a support person while you follow it, man. Shout out to him. Hey, I love that. I love hearing the men come out and get shout outs. Man, that made me happy. I love that.
Good. Well, his name's Andy, so we can shout out to Andy.
Big shout out to Andy, man. Shout out to Andy. We might even clip this up and get it out there, for my boy Andy, man.
That's right.
Love it. Love it. All right, Stephanie, where can listeners find you at online?
datawitches.com. It's data-witches, though, because I couldn't get the Data Witches domain, unfortunately, yet. So data-witches.com.
Awesome. Follow her at data-witches.com. LinkedIn, YouTube. You on there? You got a YouTube channel?
Not so much YouTube, mostly LinkedIn and Data Witches. Yep.
Cool. Follow her, all the content. Stephanie's a great person to follow. Thank you so much for joining me on 10 Minute Tuesday. This was fantastic.
Thank you. It was a great time. I'm so glad you invited me.
Yeah, of course. And as I said in the beginning, if you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe. And we'll talk to y'all next week. Have a great day.